Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. I am delighted that you have joined me today to be part of the program. Uh, our show is part of the Joyful Art of Business series. And of course, that is where we are looking at our entire professional lives and we're asking ourselves, how do I feel? Do I feel good? Do I feel happy, excited, eager about my work? Does my work permit me an opportunity to express my individuality? We're just going to call that my artistic talent. And the idea here is, of course, to avoid the one of the worst negative outcomes, which would be to, quote, be successful by some metrics, economically or in terms of prestige, and then be miserable and unhappy. So, we're going to practice that joyful art of business. And of course, our joyful art of business series, you can join in, take part in all of our shows and everything that we're putting out there for you and all of our community members at CourtneyAnderson.com. And I also have to, again, let you know that the purpose of this series and this specific show, it's you. Now, in full transparency and honesty, I gain great pleasure from sharing knowledge and from having an outlet for ideas that I'm interested in, and so I enjoy this show. But I am intending it to be of service in some way. One of the things that we have recently been so fortunate, our show is growing, and that is wonderful. And so it's certainly in large part thanks to you. And we have formalized our show sponsorship so that in each episode we're going to have a sponsor so that we can continue to make this show a larger and more accessible and supporting activity. So today, our specific show episode is replace try with do. Replace try with do. We're replacing the word try with the word do. And that's what we're going to talk about. And one of the things that I was sharing my gratitude and appreciation for the show, we're always trying to look for one, of course, avenues to continue to do what we do as a business and as an activity. The other thing is trying to come up with digestible episodes and activities and techniques so that if someone only had a short amount of time or a short amount of resources, they would be able to take what they need and leave the rest. So if they wanted to come back later and say, hey, okay, I'm going to listen to, other programs and take advantage of sort of a larger framework, maybe for looking sort of long term at what my life is and my professional activities and surpassing my goals, that's great. If someone takes just a little bit away from one episode and says, hey, that's all I ever will need, then that's great. And so today's episode, again, replace try with do. And so one of the things that when I was looking at the show schedule and sketching out this episode, potentially to see if it was going to be um, useful, I reflected back on a couple of conversations I've had with people in the last year or so. And they were basically conversations where people were talking to me about goals they had, which of course I love because one of my fundamental principles of everything that I do professionally is to be focused on how can we surpass our goals, right? So how can you surpass your goals? How can I surpass my goals? And then once we reach that opportunity, then how can we attain that, or how can we set new goals that we can then focus on surpassing, so that we always have something to look forward to, right? Which is helping, of course, with that psychological and emotional component of our 360-degree assessment of our activities. Am I excited? Am I jazzed up? Am I fired up? Am I looking forward to something in life, right? So I've had conversations with people who say, "Oh, I have an interest in this and that," and I love that, right? Because it shows that the person is on the same journey I'm on, trying to ask ourselves, what can we do to experience as much as we can, and to make our time here in this life as rewarding as possible. And so specifically, as this specific show, this what I call our audio podcast, which is what it is. It's an audio uh, podcast slash radio show, and it's been many years where we did a little test version here, a test version there, and then expanded into the daily show that we're in now, and we're now closing in on 200 shows. So it's been a process, though. It's not something that I sort of woke up on Monday morning, and then by Monday afternoon, boom, there it is. I've got hundreds and hundreds of shows, and I've learned everything I need to know, and the show has become a growing success, and it's a viable business model. That's not how things work. But I've talked to people who, let's say specifically, like I said, over the last year, have said, "Oh, I want to do a radio show, an audio podcast." Great, right? I'm excited. I love it. That's a goal. It's defined. And then all we have to do is figure out how to surpass it, right? And one of the things when as we've entered into having the opportunity to have show sponsors for each episode, our show sponsor today is directly related to this issue. So my argument is the language that people use when someone will say to me, "Well, I'm really looking into doing a radio or audio podcast show, and I'm trying. I'm really really trying." Okay. Our show episode title today is "Replace the Word Try." Right? I'm going to try to do that. Yeah, I'm really trying. I've been trying. We're going to replace that word try with the word do. So instead of someone saying, "Yeah, I'm going to try, my radio audio podcast." Okay. Instead, we're going to say, "I am doing my radio show audio podcast." Now just listen to that. If I say to you, "Yeah, I'm going to try my audio podcast," or I say, "I'm doing my audio podcast," is there a difference, sort of emotionally and psychologically, in the weight of that? The person who says, "I'm trying," and the person who says, "I'm doing," the same inflection, same energy. There's a huge difference, because "I'm trying" just sort of means it's aspirational, right? It could literally mean that I'm thinking of it. It could mean that I'm thinking of it and I'm speaking of it. But it doesn't mean that actually I'm taking any action beyond the thought waves, or maybe moving my lips and my vocal cords to speak. I'm trying. Yeah, but what are you doing? If what we're focusing on is meeting and surpassing our goals, right? It's incredibly frustrating if we're not taking any action, because then we're not going to get anywhere. To me, it's like somebody saying, "Hey, um yeah, I'm going to apply for a job." Awesome. I'm trying to. Okay. And then you ask them, "Well, how many jobs have you applied for, right? And how many applications have you filled out?" And they'll say to you, "Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. But my schedule was kind of crazy. I had to go to the doctor, and then I had to, I went and saw a movie, and, then I had a headache, and so I had to take a nap, and, but I'm really, really trying." The conversations that I refer to over the last year or so that I've had, where people say, "Hey, I want to do something." Um, I love conversation, right? What a surprise. says the lawyer, professor, speaker, right? All of those jobs are basically just different ways for me to be able to communicate and speak and share knowledge and in a really kind of energetic, excited way. So it's just basically one thing, but I get to do it in different settings. So I love sharing knowledge. It's tough for me if I don't understand and I get confused, which often does happen socially. Well, I'll think somebody's sharing knowledge that they mean that they really want to surpass the goal. So immediately I start working through action items that need to be implemented. And then people sometimes will get frustrated with me and say, "No, I was just talking. I didn't really mean that I was going to fill out an application or that I was going to start a radio audio podcast show. I just meant I was, the words came out of my mouth that I was, just it was just like a passing idea." And that is hard for my personality type to understand sometimes unless somebody is really explicit with me and says, "Hey, I'm not actually doing anything. I was just sort of talking." And that's my own limitation. I mean, that's something I struggle with, and I'm doing and have done other shows and programs for me to do a better job communicating with other people that where I get confused and where I may misinterpret what they're saying and think, "Oh, wow, let's get going. Let's make it happen. Let's surpass those goals." And that's not at all what the person was saying. They're just sort of ruminating. They were just sort of, you know, pondering. It didn't mean anything in terms of a defined goal and let's make it happen. And that is again my challenge to continue to be able to let people know where I get confused and to ask more questions and clarify situations so I don't get in a situation where somebody's been offended or stressed out or feeling like I'm sort of running with the ball that they haven't even put into play, right? So I'm fully aware of this to the best of my ability. Now, certainly, it's an ongoing process. But if someone says that they want to have a radio show audio podcast, my immediate response is great. That's so easy. And actually, our show sponsor today, which go to the show notes, the link is there to click on, is the way that I started with the free radio show podcast, audio podcast, because I didn't know anything about this. I'm not a technology expert. And I didn't want to spend any money because I didn't know if I would be able to do this. I didn't know if it was something I would enjoy. That was more of it. Actually, because I enjoy speaking and I have a lot of different experience as speaker, uh, whether it's as a lawyer giving an argument in court or a presentation or a lecture to students. So I actually was not worried about whether or not I would be able to do it. What I was worried about was like, would I like it? Because it's very different speaking to a live audience in a classroom, in a courtroom, in a boardroom than it is recording and doing a radio show. So audio podcast. I mean, so that's really different. That's the part I was concerned about. That's why I wasn't going to spend any money. So I went to Blog Talk Radio, which is our show sponsor for the show today. And if you've accessed any of our early episodes, you would have heard as the show began a little branding marketing piece from Blog Talk Radio, because when you sign up for their free um, show, then that's one of the ways that you know that's why it's free, right? Nothing's ever really free, but you didn't have to pay money. But what you were going to do is have marketing and branding so that the company could go ahead and promote their services. That's a trade, right? And so one of the things that's when we talk about replace try with do. So if somebody says to me, "Oh, I want to have a radio audio podcast show." I'm like, "Great." I'll point them to and I will and have in the past, right? Just socially been like, "Hey, here's a free site." Now there are other sites, right? They were just using this as an example, and it's also the show sponsor today. So I'll say, here's the link. All you have to do is go to the link, click on it, sign up, put your information down. It's free. And then if you really are rudimentary, you can literally call a phone number on a phone and just talk into the phone, and that's your show. It does not get much simpler than this. No equipment, no knowledge of anything. I mean, it's really set up for somebody who's a novice and who new or doesn't have a lot of technical experience or expectations, right? So it's not somebody who has very sophisticated knowledge of, recording equipment and microphones, and it's not set for that. Now, somebody who had that could certainly use the platform, but it's definitely something where somebody who's like, I don't have a clue, log into a website, call a phone number on your phone and just start talking and that's your show. And then at the end, it'll end your show when your time limit is up, and boom, there your show is, and it's on the internet. It's ready for the world, right? So what would happen is I would give the information, and somebody'd say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this." I'd be like, "Great, here's what I, used to start trying some test shows to see if it was something I potentially would enjoy and potentially could be a viable business, right? Or grow into be part of what I do professionally in my services, professional services." So I'll give that, so this is socially before today's show. It's not a sponsor. It wasn't anything as that is a business transaction, just me telling them this is a free, easy way to try this. And then because I take full responsibility for this, I didn't understand what the person was expressing. I was thinking that they meant they wanted this. So in my mind, if you want something, let's make it happen. And then the person, I'd follow up with them later socially. "Hey, what's going on? Did you do anything?" "Oh, yeah, I'm trying. I'm totally working on that. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that." Which really meant, when people use that word try, it means I haven't done it. And it usually often, and this is something I have been struggling with probably my whole life, is it probably also means I don't want to do it. Because if somebody wanted to do something and you gave them a free way to do it, and then you gave them a reasonable amount of time for them to try, a 15-minute version of this thing, and it was free, and they had the tools, right? They had a phone or a computer where they could log in and speak over the internet. You have options. If they have the tools and they have what they need to do, and it's in front of them, and it costs them no money, and they have the 15 minutes within, you know, a, let's say it's a couple of months since I've talked to somebody socially, then if they have all of that at their disposal and they still haven't done it, then that's a huge red flag for me that they don't want to do it. And that's what I said. I take responsibility for misunderstanding these things, and that's one of the reasons why in the show it's a two-pronged approach. One, my argument is, if you're the speaker, if you're the person and you think, "Wow, I'm not really jazzed up about life. I'm kind of unmotivated." And there are people like that. I will admit this, as I continue to embarrass myself. Um, I wake up most days, or if I was working nights, whatever. Whenever I wake up to start my new experience, so whatever time of the clock that is, I usually wake up pretty excited. And a long time ago, relatively speaking. So when I contributed, I co-wrote part of a book that a publisher had reached out to some women who were sort of leading motivational speakers at the time, and had us contribute to the Ordinary Women Extraordinary Success book. And this is quite a while ago now. But I remember when I was writing my contribution, I was writing about the excitement that I woke up with, and almost making an analogy that it's almost like the excitement you wake up with when you're a little kid and it's a special day. So maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's a special holiday, and that kind of excitement, what's going to happen? What are my gifts going to be? Is there going to be cake? What's going to happen? Because it's like your special day. When you're, and the younger you are typically, depending on your life experience, but it's pretty consistent. These things mean so much because your world's so small. When you're 7 years old, you don't have a lot of experience in life, just because you've only been around for a few years. And whether or not your family has a lot of financial means, or very minimal or no financial means, having a special day, sometimes it could be the first day of school or the first day of a new event in your life. So maybe you're joining a scouting club, or you're joining a sporting group, or you're excited about going to do something with your friends, or like, again, like I said, it's a birthday or a holiday or anything, right? It's like a thing, and you looked forward to it, and there's just that sort of, it's like almost electricity. You're sometimes so excited you can barely sleep because you want to know, like, what's going to happen, you know in some cultures, what will Santa Claus bring me? In some cultures, um, you're just excited. And I was sharing when I was writing my contribution to this book a long time ago, that was the best analogy I had at the time, because I had entered into this new professional field, from practicing law full time, and I had that electricity. What's going to happen? What's going to happen at the speaking event? What's going to happen on the, traveling to these places? What's going to happen? What's going to happen with a new opportunity? Somebody will, offer me a new event that I might accept or decline. All of it was exciting and it was unknown and it was exhilarating. And it still is. And so when I wrote that a while ago, I got feedback from people. Oh wow! I mean, really? Some cynics. You're that excited? Yeah, I am. I've never been to a lot of these places, or even if I've been to that town, I've never been to that building. Didn't know those people. There's so much, in it. It's kind of, my older than 7 year old adult version of, what's going to happen in like a really exciting way. And the thing about having that opportunity is it just changes the. This sounds so well, it's a joyful art, right? I was gonna say it sounds so artistic, but having the ability to have anticipation and excitement, um, it changes the colors of your whole life, right? It goes from sort of maybe a drab, mundane experience to everything is vivid and colorful and saturated and rich with tones and um, the ability all these years later to continue to have that. I wake up most days and I'm that excited. And and it's a very embarrassing, goofy thing. I even often wake up, and I have sort of a ritual and routine that I do to start my day. And then I often have a song in my head and I'll start to singing out loud. Not well, right? I'm, but just sort of starting a day with me singing whatever it is. And it could be, and it's a variety of stuff. I mean, it's all kind of things. And maybe it's some pop song, maybe it's a standard, maybe it's some, you know, um, it could be a jingle. Like I don't know. I just sort of walk around singing. And people who spend time with me, and if you're someone who has and you've experienced it, um, people comment on it. But I don't know. It's just sort of a way, I guess, that I kind of let out a little of that excitement that I have for what's going to happen. Now you have to understand, most of the time, it would look to an outsider like it's nothing interesting at all. To an outsider, when it's our special day, whether we're 7 years old and it's our birthday or the first day of a new sporting team, nobody on the outside cares. It doesn't mean anything to them. It's not their birthday. They don't have that excitement. No one who's external to us and understanding all the things that we've experienced and all the things that these things mean is going to get it. They're just going to look and be like, so you're some little kid. Who cares? So you're going to, join a new, um, you know, running team. Who cares? But it cares. It matters to you. And it's the same thing with me. Now, on the outside, someone might come and look at me walking around singing, thinking, what on earth? All this person is doing is sitting somewhere writing something, or maybe recording something in a, in a setup for their show. It's not glamorous at all. Sitting around writing something doesn't look exciting at all from the outside. But if you're excited about what you're writing, then it's awesome. And it really is cool. So what I'm trying to argue is a couple of things. Obviously, the joyful art of business, again, is that 360 evaluation of your life. How do you feel? What's going on? What are you excited about? And it could be something that other people, and it often, let me be really clear, is something that other people, they don't get it at all. They might not understand, why are you singing? Why you're going to go write something, or maybe you're going to, work on something in your garage, or you're going to plant something in your garden. I mean, other people might be like, who cares? That looks boring and stupid. To them, they need to go create their own thing that makes them excited. But if you found something that you look forward to in any way, that's beautiful, and that is something you should be grateful for and acknowledge. Replacing the word try with the word do is part of this to a large extent, because you have to have that thing that you're doing that gives you the excitement and anticipation. It's the difference between the idea and the reality. So I'm arguing on one side for the speaker to be proactive and stop saying you're going to try, because it does a couple of things. One, it confuses people who don't understand what you mean by that. And I use myself as a very, I'm just being as forthright as I can. Example, people get confused when you say you want to try something. And this happens, not just me. So I talk to people all the time and they'll say, yeah, I don't know why people are bothering me. My relatives or family and friends keep telling me, I should do this, I should you know, go back to school. And but then I hear the person tell their family, friends, and relatives, yeah, I really want to go to school. I'm gonna try to do that. So if you tell somebody you're gonna try to do something and they care about you, they're invested in you, then they get confused and think you mean that, right? You see it with students, not especially with young children, right? So the fifth grade teacher, of a 10-year-old, the student says, "Yeah, I'm gonna try to do better," and the teacher thinks they mean that they're going to do it, right? And then it gets that friction. When the teacher later says, "Well, I thought you were going to try to improve, right? And go to your study group and get more practice." And then the student gets mad and says, "Why is the teacher bugging me all the time? Why are they on my back?" Right? Okay. So for the speaker, we need to be clear and take ownership of our language. If we really mean that we're not going to do something, or we're thinking about it but we're not acting on it, we need to say that. Do not use the word try. Say something like, "I don't know and am not doing anything, but I had a thought," and then say what the thought was. You must make it clear that you actually, trying implies action, right? So you want to make sure that you're clear with your words and you own your language, that you're not actually doing anything. And you don't want to do anything. You don't want anybody else. You don't want anybody to follow up with you and ask you later. You don't want anybody to go out on their own and think they're trying to help you, and find a tutor, or find a way to, to help you get to the gym when you thinking that you wanted to, get ready and get physically fit. You want to stop all of that. You don't want anybody bothering you or harassing you or asking about this or following up about it. So you need to take ownership of that language and erase the word try. And do not even go anywhere near the word do, because you don't want to do those things. You just need to be really clear. I just had an idea, and explain that that's all it is. And then people will leave you alone, right? More likely than not. On the other hand, when it is something that you really want or that you think you want, then you must get rid of the word try and put the word do in. When you do that, then you also get rid of people bothering you and following up with you because you've already done it, right? So no one's going to follow up with you and say, "Yeah, I thought you said you're interested in, in signing up for that, guitar lesson class, and I went ahead and I got it. I got the paperwork for you, or here's the link so you can sign up for it." And then you get mad at them and say, "Well, I wasn't sure I wanted to do guitar." Okay, you know what though? Then we're going to change our language, where you either don't mention it at all, or if you mention it, you explain to people that you're not going to do it, you don't want to do it, you're not doing anything, just the idea came through your head, it's already left. Or you need to say to somebody, "I've done it. I signed up for the guitar lessons. I'm going on Tuesday," or I'm doing the class with the guitar lessons, and I went yesterday. That gives you all kind of options. You can say, "I went to the guitar lesson class and it was horrible. I don't like it at all. The guitar, after I touch it, is not the instrument for me. I just thought on television, or I watched videos on YouTube, people playing guitar. I thought it looked really cool. And then I went and did it, and I don't like it. I don't like to hold it. I don't like the way, that my fingers are touching it. I just don't want to do guitar." But you went and did it, and now you know you don't want to do it, and now that's it. It's done. You learned a lesson. It's a good story, and people learn from you, and you might inspire other people to do things. We have a responsibility as the communicator and the person who's the recipient of the message. When we're communicating to people, we must be clear with our language, and we must continually work to take ownership. Don't throw ideas out there to people who care about you or have a vested interest in you, or who have a personality type where they're going to try to fix things, because that's what they're going to try to do. Not try, they will. The person who has an interest in you, who cares about you as an action person, they will go out and do it. If you tell them you're interested in guitar lessons, they're going to go find the closest guitar lesson, and they're going to get you the application, send you the link. They may even register you for it because they're thinking they're helping, because they're doers. So take it away from them by just not using language, unless you're getting to use do language. And then there's nothing for them to do. If you told them, "Hey, I was really interested in guitar lessons and I signed up for them and I already did it yesterday, my first lesson," there's nothing for that person to do, right? You've alleviated all that stress and angst on both parties. When you're the recipient of a message, if somebody uses the word try, you must ask follow up questions. What are the follow up questions for? To clarify if they mean that they're doing it, right? Or if they just mean that it was just something that went through their head. And but I mean something that goes through your head. We've done shows multiple times where we've talked about some of that scientific research that came out of a university in California that says 70,000 thoughts a day go through our minds. So that 70,000 thoughts on average, that's a lot of thoughts. I have all kind of thoughts that go through my mind that have nothing to do with some sort of goal. I might be watching a movie, or reading an article that's just for fun and daydreaming. I'm watching a cartoon and I'm daydreaming about that cartoon and I'm thinking, I wonder in that cartoon, that person, or that they're not, maybe they're not people, but whatever the character in the cartoon, they can fly, through the air. And then I'll think, would I want to fly through the air like that if I was that cartoon character? Now, that doesn't have anything to do with the goal in life. I'm not going out and trying to figure out how to put wings on my body. I'm not going to try to create some sort of, invention, that's like a super awesome flying machine. I'm not doing any of that. I'm literally just like maybe lying on my couch or reading a magazine or watching a cartoon or even thinking about a cartoon I watched before. And it's just a thought. It's just an idea that went through my head. So I do this and everybody does this because we have all kind of ideas. The ideas that go through our head are all kind of things. It might be about a cartoon. It could be about, you know, anything. But it's not a goal. It's not anything where I want, somebody who cares about me or somebody who's a fixer kind of personality in my life to jump up and run out and go try to find me a flying machine or hire somebody to help me build a flying machine. I have no interest in that. I was just talking about something I saw in a cartoon. So I need to be clear. And just as it would seem weird to me if I was talking to somebody and talking about the cartoon, and next thing I know, the person comes over, and they're like, hey, look, I went and spent time and I found this thing and it's going to help you fly. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? I was just talking about this silly idea in my head, right? That's how strange it feels to somebody else who might have just mentioned going to the gym or mentioned fitness or mentioned going to a guitar class or mentioned going back to school. They were just talking. It was just an idea. It was as abstract to them as me rambling about something in a cartoon. And that's normal. It's just that we just miscommunicated, you know? So if I'm talking to somebody who is a fitness trainer and I'm talking about my fitness, goals, they're going to be more likely to think that I'm talking along the lines as they are professionally, passionate about fitness. And they're going to be like, oh, great, I'll sign you up, come to my class tomorrow, whatever. So I need to take responsibility before my words leave my lips. Am I really talking about something that's an action, real life thing, or am I just sort of talking about an idea that's floating around in my head? And I need to take responsibility for the language. If it's something that I'm going to do, then I'm not going to use the word try. I'm going to use the word do. And that's going to make sure there's no confusion. If it's something where I'm just really rambling in my own mind and I have no interest or um, potential plan to do anything about it, I need to say that. I need to literally say to people, this is just an idea rambling around in my mind. And then you can say the idea and be really clear. You don't want to do anything about it. But here's the really beautiful thing about this. Many of the time, the things that are rambling around in our minds, they ramble around for who knows how long. Sometimes a little while, sometimes for years. But sometimes that thing that was sort of bumping around in there, you later turn that into something that's part of an action plan. So you never know what you'll use. But you need to be clear with the language. And we want to make sure that we remove all of this miscommunication from the speaker to the person who's the recipient. And we also want to do this by you taking ownership of your language, right? And thinking about the consequence. You wanted somebody bugging you forever to come join their guitar club or go to their gym or join their book club or, come join their softball team. If you want to stop that, then you think ahead and use your words and own your language. The other thing it's also doing is teaching us to clarify for ourselves. What are you doing? Do you really want to do something? Then great, do it. Try that thing. Go to that gym, try that class, sign up for that guitar lesson, join that softball team, do it. You may do it and realize it was horrible for you. You were like, this is not the thing for me. Great, but you did it. And now it's out of your head. And now you're not going to have that idea rambling around in there forever because you went out and you did something. And I think that's a really effective way because it helps us with everything that we're working on. All of this thing with the goal. Well, I don't know what my goal is until I get out there and try things. One of the best ways we've done many other programs. We'll continue to because people say to me, well, how am I supposed to surpass my goal? I don't know what my goal is. How am I supposed to live my dream and follow my passion? I don't know what my passion is. Well, the easiest way and the most logical way to begin to figure this out is to get out there and start doing things. If you looked at something or you saw something or you had a dream and you thought, wow, I'd love to be a guitar player, and then you go out and take a guitar class and you realize, I hate this. Then now you realize that wasn't your dream at all. That wasn't a goal. You don't need to put any more time into that. Move on to something else, right? It narrows the path and it makes your life easier because you start to figure out what you do like. But you're never going to be able to figure it out if you don't try things. When you have something in your head and it's just sort of bouncing around, that's what it is. It's bouncing around in your head. And when you put it in real life, then you start to figure out, is that something that's really awesome for you, that you do wake up like me, goofy, singing songs, excited to go plant something in your garden or work on something in your garage or ride your motorcycle or write something in your, in your songbook, or whatever it is that gets you excited and passionate and turned on a little bit in life and brings a little bit of that, those moments where you just, you don't even notice the time because you're so wrapped up in that thing, and you have that same sort of anticipation and those moments of joy. They're fleeting, but you still get to experience them like you do when you're a little 7-year old and there's a big special day, you know? So there's so many wonderful consequences of our language. The show today is to replace try with do. And if you're not going to do it, then you're going to use language that explains that. I'm not doing this. I'm not thinking about doing it. It's just an idea rambling around in my head. This is going to have so many positive outcomes. Other people aren't going to bother you with things that you don't really care about. You're also going to be able to clarify for yourself what you are interested in, and you're also going to get out there and force yourself to do more things. Because maybe in your head you're like, "Oh, my fantasy is to be, you know, to live, on an island." And then you go to an island when you're able to, and you realize you don't like the island. You don't like the humidity, or you don't like the, you know, the beautiful diversity of bugs, or you get there and you realize it's better than you ever dreamed. This is awesome, and thank goodness now right? But you got to try stuff. So as I shared earlier, the show sponsor, if you have an interest, because I get this question all the time, which makes sense because this is it's the radio audio podcast show. Just like when I give speeches, people come to me all the time and ask me about being a speaker. Well, that makes logical sense. I'm sure if I played, professional basketball, people come to me and ask me about being a basketball player. I mean, these are logical things. So if you have an interest in something, and specifically if you wanted to do a radio show, then our show sponsor, Blog Talk Radio, go to the show notes and click on it. And of course, that's one of our sponsors, so that's part of how we are continuing to make this a viable business. Is that your interaction with our advertisers is part of our revenue stream. So I'm telling you an answer, and I'm giving it to you, and it's free. And if you choose certain programs they have, so there you go. If that's something you said you wanted to do, now I gave it to you. Do it. Go record a show. Maybe it's 3 minutes and you realize you hate it. This is the wrong thing for you. Maybe you do it and you realize it's the most awesome thing ever. But you don't know it unless you do it. And you have to start going through that list of stuff to figure out what it is that turns you on, so that you can begin to get to the point where you wake up. Hopefully you're not, offending people in your household with your singing like I do sometimes, but you know, it's just an expression. Every time my eyes open, and I've, so many things in life happen, and I'm here. And I'm here, and I had the ability to open my eyes. And I have the ability to have the horrible off-key stupid songs that I select. And they're just random. I'm sure at some deeper scientific level there's some sorting process, I would hope, to my brain and why whatever song comes out. But like I believe this morning I think it was the national anthem of the US. I'm not really sure. Sometimes I the other day I think it was God Save the Queen. I have no idea. I have nothing. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Just sometimes it's Oh Canada. I don't know. They just come from everywhere. Sometimes they're holiday songs. It's just I think I love music. I've shared that I certainly, I love music so much, and I played so many instruments, and I was always a musician, and I was in the entertainment industry, and so certainly it's part of it. But it's just a way, I guess, for me to express in little bursts of how excited I am. And to do stuff that I'm sure if you came and did it, you'd think this is horrible. This is boring. All she's doing is writing something. Well, yeah. But in my head, it's exciting. And I was excited about that, right? So there's so much of an opportunity for diversity for you to do what makes you happy. And you just got to figure out what that is. And one of the easiest ways to do it is just try different things. When you try something, then once you did it, right? So not try it, but do it. So I thought, well, do I really want to be someone who is a competitive eater? Okay, we'll try it. Meaning I went out and did competitive eating. Now I know I don't like it, or I know I love it. Whatever it is, replace try with do. And again, if you're have any inkling that you think you might want to have the worldwide, right? Um, radio audio podcast show, then I've given you a tool with our show sponsor today, Blog Talk Radio. Click on that and boom, there you go. If you try it and you hate it, meaning you do it, then you know. If you do it and you love it, then you know. If you do it and you're ambivalent, maybe you'll do it again until you figure out if that you either you keep doing it, which usually means that there's something positive, or you stop doing it and you claim you were too busy, which means that you really don't want to do it. So you answered the question. And now that's on the list or off the list of stuff that you would want to have in your life. See? This is so great. I really do thank you today. I hope that something here and the program is useful for you. Take what you need and leave the rest. And I am so appreciative and grateful that you were part of our program. And look forward to seeing your feedback at CourtneyAnderson.com, where you let me know what's on your mind. Thank you.